Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
How is everybody?
Morning, and ready.
It's nice to see you all. Thank you for coming and sharing this morning together. For those who may not know us, I'm Nayaswami Daiva, and this is Nayaswami Gangamata. Can man see God in contentment? How peculiar. Yogananda talks in his writings. Whispers from Eternity is one of his books. I didn't bring it this morning because we're actually going to listen to something, an excerpt from it. But he talks a lot about going deep inside. He talks about creating prayer demands for God's response. But then he talks about going deep inside so that we perceive God as He is, as she is, as it is. And then when we open our eyes, we carry that with us, that we're able to perceive the divine everywhere. With mortal eyes, all we see are differences. All we see are the problems. All we see, Maya, what we call in the West as Satan, they call in the East as Maya, and it literally means the measurer. It means that which divides, that which separates, that which creates distance and takes out of one and creates the illusion of many. And to the very degree that things are different, to that very degree, they play off of each other. They rub up against each other. Oh, you're not this, so you are, it's not okay. We create an endless, the drama is created out of that very fact. And really, there is no hope for it. Delusion is really good at what it does. Anybody notice? It carries us along, and Maya is a conscious force. Satan is a conscious force. And it works, it's woven into the very fabric of creation, and it works, guess what, on our own particular quirks. Anybody got any quirks? To the degree that you're different from somebody else, you probably have different quirks. But it gets in there, it gets into our psychology, it makes us believe the hypnosis that something else that is true than is really true. That's the whole game. And then it causes us to act restlessly in response to those illusions. You know, I was married a long time ago. I had no idea I was going to talk about this. Excuse me. You can plug your ears. It wasn't to her. I'm not going to tell you stories on her right now. These are actually stories on me. It was a rough relationship. It was rugged. And I'm sure it was rugged on the other half. I was probably pretty impossible to live with. Hopefully things have improved a little bit. But it came apart. You know, we split the sheet. It came apart at the seams. And I discovered something really quickly. You know what I discovered? That the same things I had to learn when I was married were the same exact things I had to learn when I wasn't. Damn. The things we have to learn to find the wholeness that we want to reclaim, the wholeness that is ours. We are the center. The center of the Empyrean is a point of intuitive perception in our own hearts. You are the center of the universe. It is all about you. But it's all about you, it's all about me in ways that we seldom pay attention to. We give so much credence to the surface of things, and if we can just change them, if so-and-so would just behave differently, if they could just get this different, if we could just make that happen, then we could be happy. Then it would all come together. If you didn't look different than I do, if you didn't behave different, if you know, it's just, the story goes on. A friend of mine years ago, he used to call it the long playing tape. It was when, 8 tracks were around. It just went on and on and on. But we all do that. We're all just so convinced we know how it works, and if they would just behave, if it would just be different, then we'd all be okay. And we spend how much energy trying to make that happen? And it isn't that there don't need to be responses to this world. And it's not like we can be passive and unengaged. Of course, that's not at all true. We have to be so dynamically engaged that the vibration and consciousness of God that bridges everything becomes ours. Anybody ever notice that when you get involved in something, a sport or something, and you really do it well, enthusiastically, and you pause for just a moment, it feels like the whole world is yours? Anybody ever notice that? You go for a run, you do some yoga postures, you play volleyball, you whatever the heck it is, you ski. There's a reason why sports are so addicting. They release endorphins, but they connect us through energy to the universe. They connect us. It's one of the reasons that Yogananda taught each one of us to work with energy from the very beginning. The very first thing he taught wasn't meditation, even though that's how we all pick it up. The very first thing he taught was the energization exercises. Because until you have energy, when you close your eyes, you just go to sleep. And if sleep was enough to get us connected to spirit consciously, we'd all be there. We're all really good at that. The subconscious mind goes, run away, go to sleep, run away, go to sleep. You deserve a vacation. But it never is the answer. There's something else that's trying to be born. And it's right, the things that you need. This is where I get booed off stage. The things that you need are the things that are right in front of you. One saint said, if you took all the karma, all of the tendencies, all the things in this world, and spread them out on a huge table, it'd be a really big table, but all of the patterns of life, all the choices, all the things that were there, and said to everybody, you are free, go pick up anything you want. You know what they do? We'd all just do. We'd go pick up the very things we have. Because they are the things that we need to learn. They're the places where we're committed to Maya instead of spirit. Now we can try and fix it piece by piece, little by little, item by item. It's a bar magnet. Can you see it? North Pole's over this way, South Pole's over there. If I take this piece of steel, metal, iron, is it iron? Iron is what is magnetic, right? It's not steel, iron. Iron, this is iron. Okay? And if I take another piece of iron exactly like it that's not magnetic, and I put it over there, it'll go, right? If I peel it off, it's still just a piece of iron. But if I take and I strop it on there, it becomes magnetic, just like the other one. What is it that makes iron magnetic? In some pieces and not in others. It's the orientation of the molecules inside. The iron molecules are all oriented with positive and negative poles. Every single atom in there is oriented the same way. And that's how you get the field. The other piece, it's all scattered and random, going in all kinds of different directions. So what happens is you can go in. Now, anybody here who's a chemist knows that in a gram of something, a mole is how many molecules in a gram? It's 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd molecules in a mole. Anybody ever do math? 6 times 10 with 23 zeros after it. That's a lot of little particles in just 1 gram. If you want to go in there and you want to orient all that stuff so you get a magnetic field, and let's say that magnetic field you're trying to get is the attractiveness to have a good life and remember what's true and stuff. You've got to go in and do it 6 times 10 to the 23rd times for every gram you've got. Look in the mirror, there's probably a lot of grams there. If you had a good breakfast, there's even more grams. It's a lot, and by the time you got halfway through it, I'll bet you a bunch of them have turned back. Magnetism, attunement, receptivity, and contentment. Relaxing and opening to what's in front of us, accepting it, not pushing it away, not trying to control it and hyper-manage it, but trying to feel behind it the flow of grace. And make that the relationship. And when the invitation is to put out more energy, when the demand is to be more engaged, to try and figure out how to do that effectively. We go through divorces. We go through marriages. We go through having kids. We go through trying experiments. We go through starting campuses. And we just go through all kinds of conniptions to try and learn. We engage in life to try and learn what's true, but to try and find more than that, where happiness comes from. And we're really committed to the happiness part. And if we don't feel it right now, we just change the surface pieces. But it's a lot like going through and trying to change the molecules in that bar of steel. Iron. 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 And it really doesn't matter whether you're married or divorced. It doesn't really matter whether you are involved in this or that or doing this or that. The same things you have to learn are the same things you have to learn. We have to learn patience. We have to learn kindness. We have to learn to relax when other people blow it and not hold it in their faces. We have to learn to own our own energy. But more than that, honestly, you know what the masters would have us do? They'd have us rub up against them. They'd have us magnetize ourselves with the joy of God, with the love of God, with the freedom of God, with the connection. Swami's got a beautiful song. It's the Song of the Nightingale. He says, every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. When Maya stops moving, Maya is all about movement. Maya is all about motion. And the more motion you create, the more dust in the air, the more you stir it up, the more Maya you get. And the less contentment, and the less spirit, and the less wholeness, and the less connectivity. When you enter into the stillness in your own center, in your own heart, you find the presence of everything you've wanted. You find wholeness, you find love, you find joy. And then you recognize it outwardly. You see it in the people around you and the things around you. And then, of course, the exercise is to do it with increasing power. To step constantly, to allow life to present you with things that are constantly more challenging. Oh, you think you can feel God there? Okay, let's try it over here. How you doing with that? That didn't look so good. Let's try it again. And there's a real process. It's tense with will, relax, and feel. You have to put out tremendous energy. And then you will do it or not. Anybody watch the Olympics? If you haven't, shame on you. These people are yogis in action. They are full concentration, full commitment, nothing else going on. And you know how many times they make it down the slalom course without falling? You know how many times they blow it in the efforts? How many times those beautiful skate dancers spin and try and just hang it all out there and do a triple or quadruple and just blow it. Right there in front of God and everybody, they just spread themselves across the ice. You know what people do when that happens? They applaud them. They give them energy. They say, congratulations for having the guts to try. And thank you for the blessing of sharing your efforts. They don't scold them and slap them down and hold it in their face. The announcers might, but nobody else. It's how it works. If you're going to try, if you're going to reach for the light, you're going to blow it. And sometimes you even have to change course and do something else for a while, relax and feel, go to your room, take a time out. Those are rules for life. They're not just kid rules. But that's what meditation is. That's what seclusion is. That's what stopping what we're doing long enough to get a new life. They say in India that when you step into the Ganges, the river of life, when you step into the Ganges, all your sins are washed away. All your sins are washed away. Nothing is left except light and joy and freedom. And then you step out of the Ganges and they're all waiting on the bank for you and jump back on. If it was true that everything got back on, there would be no hope for us. But when we step into the stream of meditation, when we step into the stream of attunement, when we magnetize ourselves in connection with the Guru, in the connection with God through these great masters, something changes indelibly. And a lot more changes temporarily, but there's something always if we listen for it, if we are in concert with it, if we give it energy, that changes permanently and we are never, ever, ever the same again. And the very things that challenge you right now, I promise you, are God's gift to you. Quit bitching. Step into it. Open to it. Receive it. Everything you want is right there. Contentment is the receptivity to realize that in the content of your life is everything. Drink it in, embrace it. And then go inside and listen. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a little yoga. Okay, stand up. And everybody, after their own fashion, stretch. Try not to take out your neighbors in the process. Breathe. Fill your tissues with vitality, with the life force that's all around you. Oxygenate your cells. Feel for the grace of God flowing through as energy through your tissues, your mind, your body. And when you're ready, sit back down. Sit in a meditative state. Sit up. Open your heart. Straighten your spine. Lift your chin level of the ground, your eyes upward. And we're going to go and we're going to visit God. We're going to take a few minutes. Forget who you are. Forget your personality, for God's sake, for a few minutes. Forget your challenges, your trials, the things that aren't working, the things that are, the things you want to change so it will work better. Forget it all. Step into the Ganges now and listen and feel for the presence of God as your only reality. When you open your eyes, you can put it all back on if you want, but you don't have to. It's a 9-minute seclusion.
Vanished the veils of light and shade. Lifted every vapor of sorrow. Sailed away all dawns of fleeting joy. Gone the dim sensory mirage. Disease, life, death, perished these false shadows on the screen of duality. Waves of laughter, Scyllas of sarcasm, melancholic whirlpools, melting in the vast sea of bliss. The storm of Maya stilled by magic wand of intuition deep. The universe, forgotten dream, subconsciously lurks, ready to invade my newly wakened memory divine. I live without the cosmic shadow, but it is not bereft of me. As the sea exists without the waves, but they breathe not without the sea. Dreams, wakings, states of deep Turiya, sleep, present, past, future, no more for me, but ever present, all flowing, I, everywhere. Planets, stars, stardust, earth. volcanic bursts of doomsday cataclysms, creation's molding furnace, glaciers of silent X-rays, burning electron floods, thoughts of all men past, present, to come. Every blade of grass, myself, mankind, each particle of universal dust, anger, greed, good, bad, salvation, lust. I swallowed, transmuted all into a vast ocean of blood of my own one being. Smoldering joy, oft puffed by meditation, blinding my tearful eyes. Burst into immortal flames of bliss, consumed my tears, my frame, my all. Thou art I am thou, knowing, knower, known as one. Tranquilled, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace. Enjoyable beyond imagination of expectancy, samadhi bliss. Not an unconscious state, or mental chloroform without willful return. Samadhi but extends my conscious realm beyond limits of the mortal frame to farthest boundary of eternity, where I, the cosmic sea, watch the little ego floating in me. The sparrow, each grain of sand fall not without my sight. All space floats like an iceberg in my mental sea, colossal container I of all things made. By deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation comes this celestial samadhi. Mobile murmurs of atoms are heard. The dark earth, mountains, vales, lo, molten liquid. Flowing seas change into vapors of nebulae. Om blows upon vapors, opening wondrously their veils. Oceans stand revealed, shining electrons, till at last sound of the cosmic drum vanish the grosser lights into eternal rays of all-pervading bliss. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. Ocean of mind, I drink all creation's waves. 4 veils of solid, liquid, vapor, light, lift aright. Myself in everything enters the great myself. Gone forever, fitful, flickering shadows of mortal memory. Spotless is my mental sky, below, ahead, and high above. Eternity and I, one united ray, a tiny bubble of laughter. I am become the sea of mirth itself.
Stay inward in the silence for just a moment. In the development of Ananda, the village, Ananda at Palo Alto, Ananda College, they were the founders of Ananda College, and they are off on a few other adventures now. And we just want to send them all our love and all our joy and all our gratitude and friendship. Can you tell us what's next for you?
I'll be the project manager again. That's when we met with Palo Alto.
The more things change, the more they remain the same.
For the Moksha Mandir first, Swami Kriyananda, at the Crystal Hermitage for the rest of this year.
This is Ananda's giving back to the legacy of Swami Kriyananda for all the blessings and gifts that have come into our lives as a result of his life and his self-offering. So thank you for taking that on. It would be beautiful.
And we're also working on a new MA in consciousness, a master's program that several of us have been working on for a couple of years. And we're going to India to be with one of our, call her our adopted daughter, a former student, Chitra. And she will be having her wedding there.
Why don't we take and hold them in the light? Let's all stand. See them bathed in divine light. Guided by our masters and Swamiji, we can do ever-increasing fulfillment, ever-increasing service to the light as they travel, as they build them on here, as they reach in for the master's program. Just with every breath they take and every ounce of their being and self-offering. See it reinforced by our love, our friendship, and our prayers. Come back home soon.
We hope you're back in about a year. We'll see.
Come.